So thank you all for coming. My name is Patty Schramm. I'm the Parent Resource Trainer and Coordinator with the Thought Talks online series. Tonight we're talking about Social Security, SSI, SSDI, and the work incentives. And we have our guest speaker is Debi Schwartz. She's with Get SS Help. Some of you, I think, have probably heard her before, and many of you are new at listening to this. So I'm going to turn it over to Debi. I believe you have a presentation. Let's see, did I open you up for? Yeah, I have you as co-host, so you can share your screen whenever you're ready. Thank you, Debi, and I'm going to turn it over to you.
Can you see it?
Not yet. Go down to share screen. You have a share screen, and then I'll bring it up, and you click on your presentation. There you go.
And can you see it now?
Yeah, we can see it.
All right. Good evening, everybody. I'm going to apologize up front. I am technologically challenged. And so all of the Zoom stuff, you think by now, after 18 months, I would know this down pat, but I still struggle with it. So thank you, Patty, for helping me get that. Just a very quick background of who I am. For those of you who have not heard me talk before, my name is Debi Schwartz. As she said, I am with Get SSA Help. But for 39 years, I worked for the Social Security Administration, and I retired to open my own business about 3.5 years ago. I'm also the parent of 2 children with a disability. My 41-year-old is legally blind, started having really bad vision issues in high school, went legally blind by the time he was 20. And my 31-year-old is on the autism spectrum and has some other health issues that go along with that. So as we walk through this, not only am I talking the talk, but I have walked this walk. And so feel free to ask me anything because I'm no longer with the agency. I don't just have to give the agency policy speak. I can be real truthful and honest and give you the best advice that I can to help you with your son or daughter as we go through this. I apologize, I shared late with Patty. I have been out of town for a couple of weeks and I'm just getting back and trying to get everything together. A sheet, a 2-sided fact sheet. If you didn't get it, we can talk about her sending it out later or how you can contact me to get it. And as well as the, I can share this PowerPoint with her as well if she would like. So I'm going to try to talk fast so that I get through this in less than an hour. So we have more than 30 minutes left for questions because that's where the rubber meets the road. When we did these in person, my promise to everybody was I would stay out in the parking lot. I would stay in the room and talk to you until they kicked us to the parking lot. And then I would speak in the parking lot until every question was answered. Obviously, there's no room and no parking lot for us here. However, you will have my email address. That's probably the best way to reach me. My phone number will be at the end as well. But emailing me first might be the best way to get a hold of me. And that way I can kind of gauge for you when I might be available because I do help in addition to doing benefit work and work incentives work with those that are working with Department of DD Services through the waiver or through state VR, OOD, that hire me for to do their services. I do have a fair number now of individuals who hire me to either help file their disability claim or their child's disability claim. And so I may or may not be able to answer the phone, and I don't want you to think I'm ignoring you. So an email sometimes is better. So objectives, we talked about one of the questions was, are you worried about what's going to happen to your child's benefits if they go back to work? So I want to eliminate that fear and explain to you how your child is always going to be okay Seriously, they're going to be okay if they return to work. Identify Social Security's disability different programs. There's a couple of different disability programs, but they have totally different rules. And if you're using the wrong set of rules, you may be messing yourself up inadvertently. And we want to make sure that you're using the right set of rules for the type of benefit that your child, or you for all that matter, may be eligible for. Learn how to qualify, what work incentives. Work incentives are things that you can do and take advantage of while you're working, so that even though you're working, you're still eligible to maintain that disability check or maintain that Medicare or Medicaid, all of those things that might otherwise prevent you from being comfortable trying to go back to work, and how to make those work incentives work. There are two kinds of Social Security benefit categories that cover disability. One, SSDI stands for Social Security Disability Insurance. For your child, your student, they could potentially, if you are receiving a retirement or disability benefit, or if you they have a parent who has passed away, they may be receiving dependent benefits simply because they're under 18 and still in high school, or 18, 19 still in high school. If that is the case, or if their disability began prior to age 22 and they've not worked substantially after age 22, they may, at a point that there is a parent who is receiving a retirement check or receiving disability benefits, or who has passed away, they may be able to receive benefits as a disabled adult child. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, but I think it's kind of important to understand. A lot of parents don't realize that when they hit retirement age or they go to a financial planner, that they need to mention to that financial planner that they have a child who's been disabled prior to age 22, because it's a whole new ball game when it comes to calculating when you should plan to take your retirement benefits or whatever. SSI. SSI is supplemental security income. This is where an individual has a disability, but they've not worked and paid into Social Security. They don't have a parent who's worked and paid into Social Security that is receiving retirement or disability benefits or has passed away. And so they really don't have any work record to tie to draw a disability benefit, but they don't have any income and they need some means of support. Under age 18, it's listed as a disabled child, but mom and dad's income counts. So, I mean, certainly you can contact Social Security and you can say, this is what the gross income of mom and dad in the household are. We have 3 children in the household, one has a disability. How much can we make before my child is not eligible financially for disability benefits? Some of you may have filed benefits or an application for SSI benefits for your child and been denied, not because they didn't have a disability, but simply because your income or the parent's income was too high. At age 18, that goes away. They have to have a disability, but then it's based on what their income is. So maybe they have income from a survivor benefit, or they have child support that's continuing past age 18. But the majority of our 18-year-olds do not have their own income. And so they may be eligible to file for the SSI as a disabled adult based on not having income, substantial income, and no assets over $2,000. Very, very similar to the income requirements for Medicaid, if any of you are familiar with that. So let's go back to the SSDI student benefits for a minute. This is where they're receiving simply because they're under 18, mom or dad is drawing a retirement or disability benefit or has passed, and they're receiving as a survivor. Whether they have that disability or not, they can draw up to age 18 or up to age 19 if still on a full-time student status. They do not have to be disabled. And I clarify that because some people assume that Social Security looked at that. When they're under 18 or 18, 19 still in school, until you file a disability application at age 18 for them, they just take them and pay them that money based on their eligibility as a dependent student. At age 18, however, they should file so that they can continue that benefit due to their disability. Also, Social Security has a rule that says sometimes parents, on the record, like dad's receiving retirement benefits, mama's staying home to take care of the children. At age 16, traditionally, mom's benefit would terminate. They figure at age 16, the parent doesn't need to stay home to care for the children anymore. However, if one of those children has a substantial disability, you could apply for that disability application for that child at age 16 instead of age 18, so that mom's check could continue as a child in care benefits. Additionally, I want to mention that in addition to drawing on their parents' record, we may have some students who have worked part-time jobs throughout the summer. When you're very young, it doesn't take a whole lot to qualify for Social Security disability benefits as far as how many quarters you need. If you're under 21, you only need 6 quarters. Well, it only takes $1,400 or so in earnings to earn a quarter. So, I mean, if you had a part-time job and you were, say, making $3,000 a year, within, 2 or 3 years, you're going to have those 6 quarters that you need. So it could very well be that they do have enough paid in under their own Social Security record. And that's something Social Security will look at when they file that disability application. SSI, just like I said, if under 18, living arrangement, mom and dad's income and assets count toward establishing financial need. At age 18, it's only their income, their assets, and their living arrangement that needs to be looked at. So let's talk about how we get started in filing that Social Security application. There are several different ways to do it. The first one is make an appointment. Call the number you see on the screen here, 1-800-772-1213, and make an appointment to file for Social Security. They're probably 6 or 8 weeks out, but you're protected back for the application date back to the day you called, as long as you keep that appointment time. So you're fine, you should be okay. That also gives you time to gather the information that they're going to need. And we're going to go over that in a minute. But there's a lot of information you need to be prepared. And so that would give you some time to get that paperwork together. You can go to their website, socialsecurity.gov or SSA.gov. Either one will get you there. And you can complete the disability report form and application online. Now, one caveat about that, the application online is a Social Security disability application. There will be a question embedded into that application that says, do you want to file for SSI? And you'll want to check yes. So you may have a situation where your son or daughter has never worked, has never paid a dime into Social Security, but in order to do the adult disability form online, you're going to have to fill out that SSDI application so that it connects you to that disability application. And that way you can fill in all the doctors, you can fill in all the hospitals and everything that we'll go over here in just a minute. The nice thing about doing it online instead of doing it as an appointment with Social Security is that This is a long process. Like I said, I've helped a lot of parents to file this. They have homework, which I'll show you what their homework is in a minute. And even with that homework, it takes me an hour, 15 minutes to 2 hours to do that application. A lot of that isn't just me being a data transcriber and trying to be intuitive to try to make sure we put in everything that needs to be put in. If you're doing that application online with Social Security, and you may or may not have gotten yourself totally prepared for the appointment, it could take closer to that 2 hours. And as we'll discuss in a minute, there's some questions at the very end of that application that when they get there and they say, is there anything else you want us to know? You're so tired, you just say, no, there's nothing else we need. But those might be the most important, those are the most important questions on the form. And so they may not get answered, and that might disadvantage your son or daughter. By doing it online, even if you're doing it yourself, you can save, like say you work on it for 45, 50 minutes, and you say, okay, I need a break, I need some coffee, I need to take a nap, I'll finish this up in the morning. You can save what you've done, get a re-entry number, and exit. And then go back in the next day, key in that re-entry number, the name and social security number and date of birth, and it'll pick up where you left off, and then you can finish it up. That way you're fresh. Maybe you forgot that you needed to list all the medications and there's a whole bunch of them and you don't remember how to spell them all. And so, you know, backing out and saving what you've done so that you can go grab all those medical bottles is a lot better than having Social Security on hold and then trying to go do that when you're stressed trying to getting that taken care of. Be prepared. If you don't hear anything else I say today, please listen to this when you're talking about filing a disability application. I've got a lot of things listed here: medical records, school records, medicines, work history. I'm not telling you to go to every hospital, every doctor, every speech and language therapist, every occupational therapist, and getting their medical records. What I am telling you is you need to make a Word document somewhere or get out a sheet of paper and start writing that has their name, their address, their telephone number, and approximately when your child saw them, what they did for them, if they ran tests, if they prescribed medicines. Those are things that you're going to be asked on that form. And this is part of my parents' homework, and they have to send it in a day or so before the appointment time, or I reschedule the appointment, because it makes it very time consuming. Not saying that I don't end up doing it during the appointment time, but it's very time consuming if they say John Smith, MD. Well, where's John Smith? Well, he's on 5th Street. Well, okay. That's a medical building with 12 floors and probably 30 or 40 different offices. Which one? So having that information, Social Security is going to need that specific information so that they're able to contact those doctors, contact those hospitals, and get that medical information. I am a strong believer in the fact that you never know which medical record is going to be the one that triggers an okay from the medical examiner. So if they had a pediatrician and then they switched to a family doctor, I want both of them. You need to get information available for both of them. If they saw 4 different speech and language pathologists or went through speech and language therapy to 4 different places, I want to know about it. It's easy if it's Children's Hospital, because you can just put Children's Hospital main campus and then their address and phone number and say, yep, this is when they were in the emergency room, this is when they stayed inpatient, and this is all their outpatient. This is the first time they were outpatient and last time outpatient. And then in the what did the hospital do for them, you can put, they saw people in the behavioral clinic, the adolescent medicine clinic, the neurology clinic, the gastroenterology clinic. You can list it all there. So if it's a doctor that's encompassed within a hospital that you only saw at the hospital, inpatient or outpatient, you can put it under that hospital. The caveat to that is if they went to Children's main campus and Children's Fairfield and Children's Liberty Township, you need to list each one of those separately. So just get yourself prepared, their name, their address, their phone number, approximately when they were seen there, approximately what kind of test. I mean, Children's, for the most part, is pretty good about sending everything, but you want to tell them what they're looking for.
Debbie, there's a question.
You bet.
It says, if apply at age 18, how far back do you go? Birth is the question mark.
I do birth. You know, I know the most important records will be those from the last 3 or 4 years. But I honestly think, especially if they had IQ or functional testing, intellectual functioning testing when they were 5, and they had it done again when they were 14, and they had it done again at 18, I think it's important to see maybe they didn't make a lot of progress. You know, that's going to be kind of a predictor about what's going to happen in the future. So I kind of, if I'm the one taking the application or if I'm counseling somebody, I always tell them, go back to birth as best you can. Because you just, I mean, maybe the current doctor doesn't send the record in, and so they had to rely on the record from a doctor you haven't seen in 5 years. You never know who's going to send the reports in.
There's another question. If the person is already getting SSI as a disabled child and then turns 18, do they need to do another submission, or will SSA just look at what was submitted before to see if they qualify as a disabled child, and they're referring to for developmental disability?
Once they turn 18, as a child, they are determined disabled based on the childhood disability rules. It'd be really hard, and this was a case, if you can't sleep some night and you need something to help you fall asleep, it's called the Zebley court case, Zebley versus Social Security. And that said that it was not fair to determine at age 12 or 13 or at age 6 whether that child had the capacity to work at a substantial level. I mean, that's just not fair. Because you don't know, you can't predict that. So they came up with ways where they compare it to their age group, how far behind are they lagging in different milestones and things like that. At age 18, there will come an alert at the local Social Security office, and sometime within 2 or 3 months of the 18th birthday, there will be a medical review where you're asked to update all of your medical records. Now then you would just have to update from the point that they filed forward. So maybe you only have 5 or 6 years worth to add in. And then they will make a decision based on the adult standard. And the adult standard is, do they have the capacity without assistance to work at a substantial level and sustain that for at least 12 months. And we'll get into the substantial level later, but that's $1,310 a month. So,
looks like, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
There was another question about the remarks. What should the other remarks include?
Oh, I'm going to get there in a minute. I'm not quite there yet. I was just on medications, but don't worry. I put it in capital letters and exclamation pointed it 5 times for a reason. It's your work history, even if it was just a job, like a job skills test. You know, I know Icron or several other places, they do like a 5 or 6 week job skills test in the summer when they're working with OOD. Put it in there. You know, they did this work. These were the things that were great about, you know, and in remarks, when they did that 5-week work study, these were the things they struggled with. These are the things they had trouble doing. They had interaction problems. You know, my son doesn't read facial cues. My younger son with autism, you know, he would bring in all the carts at Walmart and then get himself all in a tizzy because he'd look out in the parking lot and see the carts there in the parking lot, because the concept that as he's bringing them in, other people are leaving the store, that's an abstract concept to him. And so that doesn't show up in any doctor's report anywhere. But boy, when you're getting yourself so upset about not having all the carts in that you throw yourself into a seizure and can't work, it's important for the medical examiners to know. So that would be something we'd put in the remarks section. I say for the completed remarks section, you have 2,000 characters at the very end. If you need more than that, like I've had several parents that have typewritten several pages, had one to type up 12 pages. I summarized, when I did it, I summarized maybe 2 paragraphs worth and said, I will be submitting additional remarks. And then I mailed them to the Social Security office to be included in the file. But put in that remarks section all the things that you know are not going to be in those medical records, but that they need to know about your child. And I pick on my son, Andrew, all the time. God knows I love him dearly. But I mean, he would be the one that would go out in a t-shirt and shorts in the winter if I didn't say put long pants and a jacket on, because he's just impervious to what's going on. You could have steam coming out of your ears and your face be blood red. He can't necessarily read facial cues to understand that you're angry. You have to be very concrete with him, very verbal. That could be an issue in the workplace. And so those are things that are not going to show up in those testings, the reports that the doctors and the hospitals do. But it's very, very important when they're trying to decide, oh, well, yeah, he can, you know, she can work at Walmart, or yeah, she can work the line at Amazon. Well, no, if they can't handle loud noise and ear canceling things aren't enough, and going too fast stresses them out and they have a meltdown, well, then that isn't going to be. So you'd have to explain what that looks like. And so that's what I suggest that people put into the remarks section. Any more questions on that before I move forward?
There is another question about denials. Did you want that to receive that now, or do you want?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. If a parent receives a denial for their 18-year-old did not receive it as a child, is it better to reapply or appeal?
Appeal. The first level and then the first level of appeal, they're going to the medical examiners in Columbus. Sometimes our children don't fit into the perfect peg. You know, if again, if you can't sleep some night and you want something to help you sleep, Google Social Security's Blue Book. That Blue Book explains every disability that's out there and what it takes to qualify for that disability. So for example, for intellectual disabilities, to qualify sight unseen, nothing more, I think it's like 66 or 67 is the IQ. Well, what happens if they have a 71 IQ? Well, then you have to show that they also have deficit of function in 2 other places. And that's what you would need to show. Sometimes that's really hard to see from the medical reports that they get from the schools and from the doctors and hospitals. Now, like I said, the first level and the second level, it's black and white. They either meet the listing or they do not meet the listing. When you go to the second level of appeal, or your third actual dealing with Social Security, you're going to go in front of an administrative law judge. That administrative law judge has a little bit more latitude to take black and white and make gray. They can take more of that kind of stuff into consideration and say, yeah, I see where they say you can do this, but I hear what you're saying about that. It's at that level that I would recommend that you get yourself an attorney, one that will accept consignment, which means if you're not approved, if your child's not approved, they're not going to bill you anything. And there are lots of them out there. If you have any questions, you can contact your local legal aid society. I think Legal Aid of Cincinnati would do most, but Legal Aid of Dayton for the one that's in Montgomery County. And they can give you a list of attorneys who would be able to assist with that. The reason I suggest that is because there are several administrative law judges in each area that listens and does these hearings. They all have their own personality quirks. Some will allow you to submit medical records the day of the hearing. Some want it 30 days before. Some will even let you, if you bring it up at the hearing, give you 10 days to send it in after the hearing is over. Those attorneys that deal with those judges on a daily basis know what their particular, they'll know ahead of time who the judge is. And so they'll know how they have to craft their presentation to appeal to that administrative law judge. And I'd say about 45 or 50% of the cases that go to the administrative law judge are overturned and approved. So I would suggest that you appeal. The other thing with the appeal, as opposed to filing again, is that an appeal keeps that initial application going. So that if you are approved, say at administrative law judge level, it goes back to when you first filed. You keep reapplying, you're cutting that time short. The only time I would say to reapply instead of appealing is if the reason for the denial was you didn't dump their money into a stable account or something first, and they were denied because they had too many assets. That one, you have to get rid of the asset before they would be eligible. So that would be the one exception where I would say file a new claim after you've dumped the asset instead of filing an appeal. Okay, let's see here, we got 25, okay. So I want to kind of go over some of the work incentives. I did share a worksheet with Patty that if it didn't get sent out beforehand, I'll beg her real nice and she can send it out afterwards. It kind of gives you an example of what the different work incentives look like for each of the two programs. And you're going to notice as we go through these, the two programs, the disability determination is the same. However, the rules on how much you can make and still draw that benefit are radically different. So on the SSDI side, just briefly, once you've been receiving that SSDI benefit, so that's whether you're drawing on a parent's record or they've worked part-time jobs or had enough work that they're eligible to draw on their own record, the first 9 months after they've been drawing benefits that they work, they can make as much as they want and still draw that disability check. But they have to hit a threshold to have it even count as a trial work period month. So whether they make $940 or $9,401, that's still one trial work period month. And they have 9 of those over the lifetime of their application that they can work and receive that benefit, receive their benefits anyway. Now, they do not have to be 9 months in a row, just 9 months within a 5-year period. And I tell people to just kind of think about, like on The Price is Right, where they're trying to guess the price of the car and they have to get it in that shaded area. That's kind of what we're looking at. We put the top, the very first month they work, the 9-month trial work period, and we keep going until we have 9 months in a row. After that, they have a 36-month period where we can start and stop the check based on whether or not they're making substantial earnings or not. Remember, we talked about that earlier, substantial gainful activity or substantial earnings, otherwise known in the world as SGA. That's $1,310 a month. I'll talk about some special work incentives in a minute for the blind, but right now, if it's just a regular non-blind disability, that SGA amount is $1,310 a month. Extended Medicare. Believe it or not, after they've been on disability benefits for 2 years, they're eligible for Medicare. The same Medicare that grandma and grandpa get when they're 65. And so that's really important. Well, maybe they found a great job, but the health insurance is terrible. They can keep that Medicare for up to 93 months after that 9-month trial work period is over, even if their wages are over that $1,310. So again, they may eventually work themselves out of a cash benefit if they're making over that $1,310, but they're still going to be eligible for that Medicare for 8.5 years. And that's a really great safety net if that's one of the concerns. Expedited reinstatement says if something happens after your cash check completely ends, something happens within the next 5 years that you can't do that job anymore, you can go back to Social Security and say, I want my check back while you make a new medical decision. And they'll pay you up to 6 months while they make a new medical decision. So again, another safety net there for you in the event that you have somebody. I have somebody who's working right now and has found a really, really great job that he's really, really good at. He's found his niche in this retirement center working, and he's going to be making $20 an hour working 36 to 40 hours a week. He's going to get to keep his Medicare, but he's got that safety net that if something happens in the next 5 years, because he's already used up his 9-month trial work period, he'll still be okay and can come back on through expedited reinstatement. So that was a real comfort for his dad when we had our conversation, because now he knows that it'll be great while he's able to maintain these wages, but if he can't keep it up, he can always get that benefit back. Now let's go to the SSI side, supplemental security income. If you remember earlier, I talked about how this is based on income, low income, low assets, in addition to the disability. So unfortunately, SSI is a math formula. And, you know, I don't have that screen in here, but it's on that sheet. Basically, the first $20 of any wage, any income is not counted at all. The first $65 of wages are not counted, and only half of the difference. So making it an easy, let's do it in our heads, math formula. If your son or daughter made $285 in a month, minus 20, minus 65, that leaves 200. We're going to divide that by 2, 1/2, and that leaves $100. That means their $100, their SSI will be $100 less. However, keep in mind, they earn $285, so there's still money ahead, plus they get to keep their Medicaid. So they haven't lost anything except, you know, they've traded $285 for $100 less. I mean, I have a lot of individuals who are making $1,400, $1,500 after they've gotten started into that job. So maybe their SSI check is only a couple $100, but they're making $1,400, $1,500, and they have their Medicaid, and they have that little SSI check. So there's still a lot of money ahead. And there are organizations out there. If your child is on a waiver, most of the waivers, level 1 and IO waivers, will pay for a benefit analysis. If you're working with OOD, Opportunities for Ohioans with Disabilities, they can also pay to have one done. I do those, but there are a lot of people, other people that do that. 1619B Medicaid. This is one that I think is extremely important. You may find a job, or your student may find a job that's so good that their cash benefit, when you do the minus 20, minus 65, divide by 2 and subtract that off of their SSI benefit, that brings their cash benefit to 0. as long as they are otherwise eligible for SSI. So no more than $2,000 in assets, they still remain disabled. They continue with the annual updates from SSI, from Social Security, to keep that SSI ongoing. They will remain eligible for Medicaid through that 1619B, all the way up to wages of $36,985. And if they make more than that, there's another way that they can keep their Medicaid. And that would be something that we could, you know, email me or call me if you get to that point, and I'll let you know about that.
Debi, there was a question in there on your expedited reinstatement. It says, how long do you get to have an expedited reinstatement if there's an issue?
Well, I mean, they will continue to pay benefits for up to 6 months while they make a new medical decision. Now, pre-COVID, I would have told you that most of those decisions were made well within that 6-month period. There may be situations now where it's taking a little bit longer, but they'll get up to 6 months worth of checks. And then at that point, they may be suspended for another month or two if they're still trying to make a new medical decision. Does that answer the question?
It looks like there's a, can let us know about the amount for the 1619B again.
The 1619B is this year is $36,985. If your student makes more than that, then you'll need to go to your local Job and Family Services and ask for the premium-based Medicaid, which is MBIWD, Medicaid buy-in for workers with disability. There's a premium attached to it, but if you're making 40 grand a year and not drawing any cash benefit, your premium may only be $125 or $130 a month once they do all the exclusions. And that would certainly be better than not having health insurance, because it would give you the full Medicaid.
It looks like that's it for the questions right now.
Okay. Special situations, impairment-related work expenses. We see this more on the SSDI side than we do the SSI side, but there could very well be an illness-related expense that you have to pay for out of your own pocket in order to work. So if you have to pay for it yourself because health insurance isn't paying for it, waiver isn't paying for it, then it's possible that even if you're making over $1,310, or if you're on SSI, they'll subtract that off to reduce the amount of countable wages. Sometimes I see it if somebody has a wheelchair. A lot of times the insurance will pay for the wheelchair initially, but they don't pay for new inner tubes. They don't pay for new egg crates or new cushions or new handbrakes. Sometimes you need to get those special gloves so you don't wear out your hand and get blisters on your hands from using your wheelchair. Those are things that usually insurance companies don't pay for. You're paying for it out of your own pocket, and it's because of your condition. So they can subtract that off of your income. Service animals. If they're a certified service animal and there's documentation to that, vet bills, food, chew toys, veterinary visits would all be considered, because you need to maintain that service animal so that they can help you with your impairment. Sometimes transportation is covered, but it would not be if it were a family member. And it's really if they have a disability that doesn't allow them to have transportation themselves and they're having to pay an external force other than the public bus transportation to get them to and from work. So those may be some. I have a lot of people that they work a second shift. And so, you know, mom or dad can get them to work, but then Uber brings them home at 3 in the morning or 5 in the morning. And they don't have a car because they can't drive because of their disability. That Uber bill becomes an impairment-related work expense. And that shows under special transportation. Subsidized work in special conditions, these are for SSDI only, but they would be situations where your son or daughter is working for an employer, but because of their disability, they're only putting out about 80% or 90% or a certain percentage less than an individual without a disability. If on the Social Security side, they're making more than $1,310, sometimes we can go to that employer and say, are they getting extra help? Do they have fewer job duties? Do you give them extra breaks? You know, and if that could be documented, the value of that extra help or that less productivity can be subtracted off their gross wages to see whether or not we can get them below that 1,310. Those are, you know, those are things that become very technical. The Social Security office can help you with that. If you ever have any questions on will something count as a subsidy, you can always send me an email and I can hook you up with that. There are also some special work incentives that I wanted to go over real quick. The blind had a great lobby when it came to setting these rules. So whereas a non-blind person's substantial threshold is $1,310, for the SSDI it's $2,190. On the SSI side, if your child is only receiving SSI, instead of the impairment-related work expenses, they have blind work expenses. So it would be all those things I said before, service animal transportation, durable medical equipment, things like that, but also federal income tax withheld, state income tax withheld, union dues, local taxes. So, and the math formula is different. Instead of -20, -65, minus any of those expenses and divide by 2, it's -20, -65, divide by 2, then subtract off all those expenses. So in the handout that you'll receive later, there's actually an example of somebody making $1,000, but if they were working in Cincinnati where there was a little bit of or Dayton, where there's a little local tax in addition to federal and state, they may only lose $5 to $10 of their SSI check, still get their SSI check, still have those wages, and still have their Medicaid. So again, really important that they're aware of that. My favorite work incentive, student earned income exclusion. This is the best example I can give, or best reason I can give for why a parent should assist their child in deferring diploma till age 22. As long as you continue to be considered a student regularly attending school. So whether that's your local high school, the vocational school, Project Surge, Project Life, as long as you are still tied as a student to your parent high school, you are a student. You can then earn up to $1,930 a month, up to $7,770 a year, and still draw the full SSI check. Now on my website, getSSAhelp.com, I will apologize. Come January, I had a very devastating illness, and I have not updated the amounts for this year. And at this point, I'm just setting them up to set it up for next January. So the amounts on my handout on my website where it says free forms, there's an explanation of that and walks you through a year and a half of it, but it's using last year's dollar amounts. And I apologize for that. It's just, I've spent more time at the oncologist office in the last 8 months than I would like to share. And so I just my website's not been my priority. Helping the families one-on-one has been. But you can go to my website and at least pull that down and it'll give you an idea. So you could work, I mean, your student could work maybe 30, 32 hours a week during the summer and maybe 15, 16 hours a week during the school year and never lose an SSI check. Nothing. Won't affect the SSI, won't affect the Medicaid. They'll still have all of those wages because they want to tie them into understanding as a transition student that work is important. And so they've put teeth behind it by giving you this exclusion on how much you could make. And I think it's really, really beneficial for our children because it makes it possible for them to explore different work study options. It gives them the option to explore different little part-time jobs and get that experience so that by the time they do age out of the high school at 22, they have some solid legs underneath them as a foundation and can move on. And it's good to see the Social Security is supporting that.
Debbie, there was another question out there before you, about the school. They were asking if Cincinnati State College would count, but if your child would be, it looks like she mentioned age 23.
Age 23, she's too old. But school could be UC, could be the, what is that program called at UC and at Wright State where they go?
The TAPS or that TAPS?
Yes.
Yeah.
The TAP program. That can be considered student. College can be considered a student. As long as they are considered regularly attending school and they're not yet 22. Month of their 22nd birthday, it ends. There's been talk about them increasing that up to 26, but I haven't seen it yet. Any other questions about that?
Looks like that's it for now.
Okay. Vocational Section 301. Somebody asked earlier the question about what happens when they're 18 and they're already drawing SSI. Does anything happen when they turn 18? And I said, yes, they have a medical review to see whether or not they meet the medical standard. Let's just say for giggles, they're under an IEP that has a specified career goal. You know, they're going to be in the school, they're going to go here, they're going to do this vocational track, they're going to do project search, we're going to do this. And by the time they pick up their diploma, our hope is that they'll be able to do this kind of work. Even if that person is denied. Now, I will tell you, if you get a denial saying they don't meet the adult standard, appeal and appeal within 10 days, because then you can ask that the check continue. If it's denied again, appeal within 10 days, the check will continue, and then go to that administrative law judge just like you do the other time. But even if the administrative law judge would come back and say, no, I think Johnny's capable of doing something out in the national economy that would be at a substantial level. If they are under an IEP that has a specific career goal, and if you've alerted Social Security that they have an IEP that has a specific career goal and they're able to see that, they could make a determination that they will keep that check going anyway until they exit the school system. So it's just, again, another safety net. They don't want to pull the rug out from underneath the student that's in the process of getting some vocational rehabilitation assistance before they've had the opportunity to get that education or training they need to be successful in life.
There is a question here. What if the parent did not appeal within the 10 days?
Well, they have 60 days to appeal, but they have to appeal within 10 days in order to have payment continuation. If it's beyond 60 days, they have to file a new disability application and then just appeal, but they won't be able to get the checks to continue in the meantime.
Looks like that was good. No more questions?
Okay. Plan for achieving self-support. This is one that's not used probably as often as it should be. And I'm only going to mention it only so to put that little seed in your mind, so that if it happens to be pertinent to your son or daughter, that you look into it. If your son or daughter has a vocational goal that would allow them to become so successful after that training or whatever it is they need to buy is once it's purchased, if they would be able to show that they would either be dramatically reducing their SSI or eliminating their SSDI check, they could get Social Security to provide exclusion of the assets that would lower their SSI, to pay them the full SSI so they can pay for that. Good example, I have a gentleman right now who is in his final, he's just getting ready this month to start his final semester in college, and he will graduate in December, January, something like that. But he had the opportunity to do 2 internships with companies, both of whom will be vying for him once he graduates and has that degree. Right now, his mom has been driving him to and from his classes, but to say long-term that mom is going to drive him to and from his job, and he's going to be a CPA for corporations, so he probably is going to have to go to all these different companies. That's going to be a challenge for mom because mom works too. So he wanted a pass plan to purchase a vehicle so that by the time, so that all this money from, he's over 22, so we couldn't do the student earned income exclusion, but we took the money that he made from these jobs, these internships, that would have lowered his SSI to 0, because he was making $5,000 to $6,000 a month in this internship. He had really good internships. He's going to have a really great job when he's finished with this degree. He was able to take that, and with that, Social Security, we got them to approve like $8,500 toward the purchase of a good used car. I think he spent $500 or $600 getting some new tires for it, and he's paid for a year's worth of car insurance. So now he's just finished this internship in the middle of August. His car's paid off. His insurance is paid up for a year. He's got it all tuned up and ready to go. So come December, when he graduates, he'll be able to get that job and hit the ground running. And so instead of him losing that SSI, he was still able to keep that SSI and his Medicaid and his food stamps, and use all that money from the internship that would have lowered his SSI to nothing, and use it to pay for those items. So in this case, it's worth Social Security's dollar to pay him a few extra months worth of benefits, because they know come January, he's going to have a full-time job, and he'll be making so much money that he won't be on SSI anymore. And then he'll work with the Medicaid to figure out the MBIWD piece. But he's been able to help fund his future and do that. So just keep that plan for achieving self-support in the back of your mind in the event you have a situation like that, where maybe grandma and grandpa gave them $20,000 and you could only put $15,000 of it in the stable account, and they've still got $5,000. Well, maybe that $5,000 you can say is dedicated to pay for something that will help reduce their dependence on SSI in the future. That may be something Social Security would approve.
There is a question, Debbie, on how do you go about setting up a past goal?
Oh, you've got to contact, you've got to contact Social Security, and they will put you in touch with the past specialist. For the southern part of Ohio, which I think covers everybody on your call, That would be Darren Neff out of the Lancaster, Ohio Social Security office. He's the PASS specialist for Southern Ohio. But they can contact their local Social Security office and look that up. You know, contact them and they'll put them in touch with Darren, because Darren would be the one that has to actually help them with the form and make the approval, and has to follow through with them. And they'll be followed. You know, like my fella, every time he got paid a paycheck, he'd send a copy to me. OOD is paying me to help make sure that everything gets reported to Social Security. When he wanted to extend it for the second internship, I filled out the paperwork to extend it and followed up with Darren. And, you know, we've kept everything going. I'm just getting ready to wrap him up right now so that he's finished. But that's something that Darren would take care of. I mean, it doesn't work for everybody. You have to have an income or an asset to set aside. So you may have somebody whose only income is SSI. They have nothing to set aside, in which case I suggest that they go get a part-time job and then use the countable income from that part-time job to set aside toward that vocational goal. And of course, with the advent of the stable account, some people have found that they don't have the need for it as they may have had in the past. But in this particular gentleman's case, it was perfect for him. And so I was really glad we were able to do it for him. Ticket to work. As your child goes from age 18 up to age, you know, gets that adult disability review, maybe on SSI, or they get approved for disability benefits past age 18, they're going to get letters telling them they're eligible for ticket to work. Well, what does that mean? Well, I mean, it's a lot of things all geared toward helping with that vocational goal. There's an extra toll-free number. If you go to Social Security's website and Google, you know, search for Choose Work, they have a whole website that can let you know of organizations in your area that may be able to help you figure out what will happen to your benefits if you go back to work. So you could make a decision, a good informed decision about going back to work. A lot of people think they're going to lose everything, or they're going to lose their Medicaid, or they're going to lose this one, and then they find out that they're not, and they're much more likely to allow their son or daughter to get that job. Like I said, developmental disabilities, not even through Ticket to Work, can do career planning through your waiver and pay for that. I am a Medicaid provider for that. And OOD, Opportunities for Ohioans with Disability. They are an employment network in the state of Ohio to assign that Ticket to Work. If you're receiving Social Security or SSI disability and you're over 18 and you've had an adult decision, you can go to them and they can assist in helping maybe do job exploration, job coaching, job testing. They'll either do the career planning, benefits analysis themselves, or hire somebody like me to write it for them. So that again, you get that one-on-one service. These services are free to you as long as you're using one of those programs. So you don't have to pay for it. Some areas have more extra employment networks than others. Cincinnati and Dayton probably have more than some of the other outlying areas. But if you go to Social Security's website and search Choose Work, it can give you the providers that are in your area that might be able to give you that extra help or that extra assistance that you need or your child needs in order to get back to work. And there's something in it for them, because if they get you back to work, Social Security has a way of remunerating them. So it's just a really good way of taking advantage of everything you can. When they say it takes a village, with our children, it really does sometimes take a village. And you need to be aware that that village is out there. These are some of the people that are part of that village. Parents, teachers, vocational experts, Social Security, there's the local employees, the work incentive liaisons. Every Social Security office has a work incentive liaison. They may or may not know who they are, but every office does have a work incentive liaison. Area work incentives coordinator. That was what I did for the agency when I was there. I was responsible for the 29 offices in Southern Ohio and Southeast Indiana. As I said, Darren Neff is now the area work incentives coordinator who took over from me. And his information is available on the website. You can email me and I can give his information to you. But he would be available to you if you have any Social Security issues with work incentive issues. You've reported the work and the check still isn't correct or something like that. That would be something he would be able to help with. Ohio Bureau of Rehabilitation Services, I guess I should change this to OOD. They've changed their name to Opportunities for Ohioans with Disabilities. But that's a state VR service that can help anybody with a disability who needs assistance or assistive devices in order to return or go to or maintain work. And they're there to help you with that. Work incentive planning and assistance, the WIPA grants. In Cincinnati, the services, I believe Butler County, your WIPA project, and it may be for all three of your counties, come to think, Green might be another one though. Excuse me. But for Butler County and Montgomery County, I'm pretty sure it would be Legal Aid Society of Cincinnati. But that Choose Work website that I told you about will tell you exactly. You key in your zip code and it'll tell you who Disability Rights of Ohio, COVA, which now is Southeastern Services of Columbus, and then Legal Aid of Cincinnati are the three that are covering the state of Ohio. Protection and advocacy. You may have a situation where the school is not giving you what you need. They're not following the individualized IDEA, that program that helps you, your child with the IEP. They're not following the IEP. You have teachers who didn't read it. The Disability Rights of Ohio is your protection and advocacy group. If you're working with state VR and you have a real, 99.9% of them are really great people and I love working with all of them, but every once in a while you get one that's a piece of work. Disability Rights of Ohio is your protection and advocacy group to contact. If you have your son or daughter is with an employer and the employer is doing something that you don't feel is under the Americans with Disability Act or you think they're violating it, Disability Rights of Ohio would be where you could go to. And I've already talked about the employment networks. My website is getSSAhelp.com. My email address is getSSAhelp@gmail.com. I'll even give you my phone number. It's 513-885-2827. Please be mindful, this is my personal cell number. I don't usually start working until about 9 or 9:30 in the morning because my cancer medicines make me so tired. I don't usually get myself up and around early in the morning. And I usually work until about 4:30 or 5. If we've talked and I've scheduled something for the evening to help you with something, because that's the only time we can meet, I can do that. But it's usually something that I would like to know about ahead of time. I mean, I have had people who have called me on Saturday night or early Sunday morning, and I never know who the phone is, who's calling me. And so, because it's my personal cell phone, I answer it, but just be mindful. I don't mind answering your questions. Questions are free. The only time I charge is if you're having OOD or Board of DD pay me to do benefits analysis, and then they're paying it, or if you're hiring me to do a disability application. Everything else, I answer questions for free. So you can feel free to give me a call. Although, like I said, dropping me an email is a little bit easier, because that way I can kind of control when I respond, so that if I'm not in, or I'm with somebody else, I don't have to worry about that phone call that I've missed. So now, Patty, I'm going to open it up to questions. We have about 20 minutes left, 15 minutes left.
Yeah, we'll open it up to questions. I'm going to stop the recording though, so the parents can feel free to, you know, ask or raise their hand or speak freely, you know, on here. Before I'm going to shut down the recording. So I'm going to thank you, Debbie, that was a great presentation. Thank you. And we've had a lot of great questions tonight. So one second, why I can't talk and shut things off. So one second while I shut this off.
You're good.